Sorry, I stopped. I didn't record yet. We've already been doing this for like 5 minutes. Okay. So back to the maximum MOA. All the information again is up top. And I was just saying, Oakland Center's in charge of it. 132.2 is Oakland Center's frequency if you want information on the MOA. And then there's another frequency, 350.3. That is the UHF frequency for military. So we don't have access to that frequency flying civilian aircraft, but military would be contacting Oakland Center on 350.3. And it is active, again, 0500 to 2000, Monday through Friday. And the dimensions are 11,000 or 3,000 feet, AGL, whichever is higher, because there's mountains. So whatever's higher, that's where it starts, depending on the mountainous terrain. There's the China MOA, Whitmore 3 MOA, Whitmore 1 MOA. All that information is on the top of this chart. Any symbols or airspace that you're not familiar with on the symbols, again, you can refer to the legend right here. And this might not include every single symbol that's on there. There's a document online called I think it's called the Aeronautical Chart User Guide. That is like, I don't know, like a 50-page document or something. That has every single symbol you'll come across. So if you don't find it on here, you'll find it on that PDF online, and you can just access that for free. It might also be included on ForkFlight. I haven't checked. Most likely it is. Yep, they expire in 6 months, so you'd have to get a new one for whatever area you're in. And then as you go further north or south, you have to get the chart for that area. And what you kind of have to perfect back in the day is folding it a certain way to where you could be like having it on your kneeboard and you're flying and you're like, okay, I'm now past that point, so here I am now. So like figuring out how you're gonna fold it a certain way to keep en route. And everyone's face is like, oh my god. Yeah.
That just sounds like so complicated.
It is, and it was.
Especially, while flying.
Right.
Especially if it's only one person, you just like,
right?
Yeah,
if you have a co-pilot, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. Flight deck management looked a lot different back before we had iPads and phones with ForkFlight on them. And obviously you don't have like a geo-reference little airplane following you. So the only way to figure out and to not get lost was paying attention the entire time. So you would use pilotage, which just means like, okay, if I'm, let's say I'm going to Ukiah, like right here. As I'm going to Ukiah, I should see a little lake right here, which is called Lake Mendocino. I should see a big tower right here off my right. I should also obviously see Clear Lake on my way there. So you would look outside and be like, well, there's a big old body of water. That body of water is lined by a freeway and Lamson Field. Okay, I see the freeway, I see Lamson Field. That must be Clear Lake. And then you're following this freeway all the way up to Ukiah. You look down, there's the freeway underneath you. That's pilotage. You're looking at the chart, finding the landmark, finding it outside.
Do you think they memorized a lot back then so that they're, so at least they have like kind of a reference? I mean, they're using the map, but you know, saying, okay, I'm gonna pass this landmark, I'm gonna pass that landmark.
They were marking it all up. They probably circled the major landmarks that they were expecting to see, and just so they would know when those were coming up. Dead reckoning is another way of figuring out where you are. Dead reckoning is using calculations based on your ground speed. So if they're saying, well, my last checkpoint was Cloverdale Airport, and I've been on this same heading for the past 15 minutes, and I'm going this ground speed, figuring out what the ground speed was, which you could ask ATC. You could be like, like whoever you're talking to, NorCal approach, Cessna 61329er, can I get a ground speed check? And they'll be like, Cessna 61329er, I'm reading you're at 90 knots ground speed or something. So they would get the ground speed. They would know that they were passing Cloverdale 15 minutes ago. they've been on the same heading for 15 minutes at 90 knots ground speed. 90 knots of ground speed is 1.5 nautical miles per minute. So you're traveling 1.5 nautical miles per minute for 15 minutes. So then what they could do is, what is that, 1.5, is that like 20? No.
22.
22? Yeah. So 22 and a half. So they're like, okay, from Cloverdale, in the same direction, I've traveled 22 and a half miles. They would find 22 and a half miles using their plotter. And they'd be like, okay, I should be somewhere roughly like right here. And if I'm right here, I should still see Clear Lake. I should be able to see the lake just up ahead. I don't know, you should be able to see this big old mountain that is this little mountain range right here. And then they would confirm that, yes, I am right here, based off of their calculations and pilotage. So dead reckoning and pilotage. Those are the two forms of navigating the old-fashioned way for cross countries. Obviously, other than now, like GPS, using the VORs, using ForeFlight. So we're gonna quickly go over how you're gonna plot your true courses on the paper chart with a plotter, and then calculating a wind correction angle using the E6B. So this is, I forget, it originally was called like the Dalton Dead Reckoning Calculator or something, just named after the guy who invented it. But the part number or something was E6B, and it kind of just kept caught on as called an E6B. Most of the time you're probably not going to have this up there with you, but it is still fair for the examiner to ask you how to use it and to do different calculations. So that's something, once you guys buy one, there's a lot of practice problems that you can find online. I'll send you a link for one, that way you can just save it for reference, and you'll go through like how to calculate how much fuel am I going to burn at this amount of time, how long is it going to take me to travel 15 nautical miles at this airspeed, and things like that. That's what you'd use it for. Realistically, I do a lot of the math mentally now. I don't have this up there with me. ForeFlight also does a lot of the work for you. It does all the work for you. So ForeFlight is a godsend, but you need to learn how to do this first. Also, I brought this. This is a chart supplement. Same idea. This expires, I don't know, what is this? I think 56 days, not quite 3 months. Yeah, it expires every 56 days. So chart supplement has information on all of the airports. This is just for the Southwest US. So this includes California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado. So all the relevant airports are in here. And it's in alphabetical order, so like from McClellan. Let's see. Here's the... McClellan Airfield, see Sacramento on page 202. Yeah, it's not different. It's under Sacramento. This is also now a digital form on ForeFlight. So Sacramento McClellan Airfield, it has the airport code. It has how far away is it from. I can't get it on ForeFlight on my computer for whatever reason, because I can't really show you. But it has all sorts of information, like on the type of fuel that's available, different services that are available. Where to find the fuel pump. Under airport remarks, it says it's attended continuously because the jet center is always open. Self-service 100 low lead fuel west side of taxiway Kilo. Runway 16 is the calm wind runway. All aircraft exit runway to the east. Field conditions, runway, taxiways, and apron. Good. Apron is like the parking area for planes. Strict adherence to published traffic pattern altitudes recommended for noise abatement purposes. 900-foot asphalt overrun southeast end runway 16 and 1,000-foot asphalt overrun northwest end runway 34. There's an overrun, it just means like it's not part of the runway, but there is like an extra strip of asphalt at the end of each runway to where if you landed extremely long and overshot somehow, which you would have to do that on purpose. You have almost 11,000 feet. There's really no excuse. Landing fee charged for all commercial operations. We're not commercial operations, we are flight training. Military remarks, C5 touch and go is prohibited. I would certainly hope so. That's a very large jet. Doing a touch and go would be terrifying. Has the airport manager phone number, all the frequencies that are relevant for McClellan, and the VOR information, because there is a VOR on the field. This is all on Fort Flight now, but this is what it looks like. So, we'll quickly go over plotting true course and some wind correction, and then we're probably going to spend most of the time outside, kind of just walking through traffic pattern stuff, practicing tower radio calls, NorCal traffic radio calls for like flight followings. That way you guys already kind of have it in your mind, and that'll translate into your flight lessons, and then maybe it's not so intimidating. Are you guys talking on the radio already? A little bit? Are you not? Okay. Well, then you'll be ahead of the game, which will be nice. It won't sound so foreign, but you're a flight attendant, so you kind of, you know it. Yeah, that's what I planned today. It's just kind of, we're not really like doing presentation or anything. We're mostly just chair flying and interacting. But I'm gonna put this, I'll just put this on this table so we can all gather around. Sorry if I'm hitting you with a large chart. Another thing is it's a chart, not a map, because it has topography. Some examiners are just like, don't call it a map. Same function. But, okay. I need a pencil. Use a pencil on this, please. Do not use a pen, because you're going to have to erase stuff. There's also what you could buy is, it's like highlighter tape. It's literally like, you guys know what washi tape is? It's kind of like washi tape, but it's highlighter and it's transparent, but it's, it's like a bright pink or a bright yellow. You could use that too instead of drawing on it. That's what I did, just because like drawing on it and then remembering to erase it was a pain. So that's a good investment, but I don't have that, so we're just gonna use my pencil. So let's just pretend we're going from McClellan to Chico, because that's easy. So what you could do is, first of all, if we're going McClellan to Chico, we could essentially follow the freeway all the way up to Chico. That way you're always kind of over a potential landing spot. Also, it's easy to see the freeway and stay on course that way. So what we could do is we could plot from McClellan to Marysville, and then Marysville to Chico, because that kind of keeps us close to the freeway that way. So the first leg will be McClellan to Yuba County, Marysville. And you kind of just want to put the pencil mark right in the middle of each airport. And just do your best to keep it straight. You want to make it obvious. Alright, so there's my first pencil mark, and then Marysville to Chico. It's not a whole lot different, but it's just maybe a slight left turn. Okay. We have our pencil mark. I can barely see it because of the glare. Okay. But if we're going from, our first leg is McClellan to Yuba County, and again, it's pretty much one straight line. It's not much different. But what you're going to do is you're going to find, this is your plotter. So this is what gives you like that straight line. And then on either side, it has measuring in mileage. We're using nautical miles, so do not use the statute mile side. And then also, you want to make sure that you're using the correct scale. So you could do the sectional scale or I think it's world area chart scale. We are a sectional scale. So you wouldn't use the WAC, you'd use the sectional. Very important, because people will get their own mileage and then they think it's like more than it is, and then they're confused, their fuel burn calculations are off, and it's a whole mess. What you're going to do is you're going to find either a line of latitude or longitude that your pencil intersects, and you're going to line this up on that line of longitude or latitude and that intersect. So from McClellan to Yuba County, it intercepts this line of longitude, right, or I'm sorry, latitude right about here. So I'm gonna put it there. And I'm gonna put this little grommet right over that intersection, and then I'm gonna line up with the line of latitude, east and west. So 090270 is right along that line of latitude. Now where this pencil is intercepting, it's like a 3, but I want to be precise, it's like 341 going north. Make sure you're reading the right side too. Some people will be like, okay, so it's like 160, yeah, and I'm like, okay, are you going south? No, we're going north. So this one makes sense. So 340, and then we would have that flight log, which Britton, I'm gonna give you 2 copies so you just have them. Thank you. Okay. This is what you would be filling out with this information. So what I would do in the middle, in this middle column, I would do like KMCC, KMYV, KCIC for Chico. Last time we did talk about like making a top of climb and a top of descent leg as well. We're not going to focus on that because that was in the last lesson and I just want to kind of focus on the routing. But I'll put it on this chart so that we're consistent. So top of climb, KMYV, top of descent, KCIC. So this is what it looks like. Top of climb is TOC, top of descent is TOD, right before Chico. Top of climb should be right after your departure. Your top of climb will be somewhere along in between McClellan and Marysville. But we have the true course, we said it was 341, so I'm going to put that on the first box for the planned true course. Altitude, we're going northwest. So do you guys remember, are we even or odd altitudes?
West is even.
Correct. Yeah, so we're gonna do an even altitude plus 500. So usually going to Chico, I do like 4,500. And this is just for flights above 3,000 feet. That being said, I would not do a long, like no, it's not that long, but I would not do a cross country at 2,500 feet. That's just too low. There's no point. So we'll do 4,500 for altitude. Predicted wind. There's different ways you can go about it. Let's just look on ForeFlight. So ForeFlight, because this is the departure, what you could do, let's see, we're just doing, yeah, I would just look at McClellan. So we're gonna look at McClellan's winds aloft. So we're under weather, and then winds. Winds aloft just mean winds at altitude. So we're saying we're going to 4,500 feet. That's not on here, as you can tell. It's at 3,000 or 6,000. 4,500 is pretty much like right in between the two. So we can kind of average it out between 199 at 9 knots and 182 at 12. So what's in between 199 and 182? Like 180? No? Probably a little bit higher than that. So 182 plus 199. So 190 is like right in between 182 and 199. And then the average between 9 knots and 12 knots, we'll say 10 knots. So we'll say 190 at 10 is the wind. That's the predicted wind. So 190 at 10. Put it there. Important note is when you're getting the wind, what we just did was plot the true course. Wind can be reported in true course or magnetic. So if you hear it, it's magnetic. If you read it, it's true. We just read it, so it's true. So those match. I can't do a true course and use magnetic direction of wind. You can't cross those. So it's true and true. So which we got. So 341, 4,500 feet on the way there. And then the wind's 190 at 10 at altitude. The altitude, the winds aloft winds are different than the winds at the surface. So you wouldn't really use like the METAR winds or the AWAS winds because those are surface winds. You want to use the winds at altitude.
So is there any other way to get that? If you,
Yes.
how else would you get?
Another website called aviationweather.gov, which I really like. Here they are. I just clicked on it. This is called the graphical forecast tool, the GFA tool. Oh my gosh, where are we? Zoom out really quick. Make sure we're still in America. Yep. Okay. So here we are on the GFA tool, and you can go in the past or in the future. I'm gonna just do winds. And then here's your altitude scale. So it just defaults to like where the maximum winds are. So this looks terrifying, just adjust it. We'll use 3,000. You can look at 3,000 and 6,000. It is pretty windy today. So this actually kind of makes sense. But let's find McClellan. So I'm gonna go over.
You're over Mexico.
Am I over Mexico?
Yeah.
That looks like Ukiah.
Is it?
Yeah, no. This is Ukiah. This is Santa Rosa. But it does look confusing. Hold on. Let's find the airports. Show IDs. Airports is on. We don't need to show runways. Okay, that should be good. Let me just zoom in. There's Nut Tree. Davis and Sacramento are over here. Okay. Here's KMCC. And they did change the format, so now I'm like, where is it? We used to have where you could do like your flight plan on here. There we go. Okay, so now we know where we're going. So you could use this tool and you could just click on KMCC and it gives you a bunch of information. It gives you the TAF, but what we want is the winds aloft, so that's where you would adjust it right here. And what you could do is you could zoom in and you could click on these wind barbs. And winds at 3,000 feet, right about here, is 178 at 8. Down here, it's 182 at 7. So the winds are essentially coming from the south. This is for right now. If you were to plan a flight in the future, you could do the scale down here. Just know that it's in Zulu time. It's not in military time, it's not in local time, it's in Zulu time, so you'd have to convert Zulu time. Just know that 17 Zulu is 10 a.m. local, so you can work backwards from that. So like if we were to take off at 9 a.m., that would be 16 Zulu, and I could go to 16 Zulu and get the predicted winds at that time at 3,000 feet for McClellan or for wherever you're going. So that's another website you can use. Anyone can use this. This is free. Or you can get you can talk to a weather briefer as well. Talked a little bit about that. So you can call 1-800-WX-BRIEF, which that phone number is on here on the bottom on the back page. And you can talk to a weather briefer and tell them your altitude, and they'll give you the winds aloft. Okay, so we have almost everything we need. We need a planned true airspeed, which you would find in the POH under the performance charts. You'll go to like the cruise performance chart, and it'll give you like the true airspeed that you would be at a certain RPM at a certain altitude. So we're just gonna make one up, and we're gonna say that our planned true airspeed is 100 knots. Another thing is if you're gonna do your airspeed in miles per hour, because some POHs are in miles per hour, then you have to do the wind in miles per hour too. You can't cross with knots in miles per hour either. So we're gonna stick with knots because majority of the information that we see is in knots. So in the Cessna POH, it is in miles per hour, so you'd have to convert. I'm just gonna say it's 100 knots just to keep it easy. So planned true airspeed is 100 knots. Now we have everything we need. So now we come to the EC sheet. slides up and down. And how to do wind correction angles and why you need to do wind correction angles. So if we're going essentially 3, 4, 1 to Chico, if we had a wind, let's say coming from the mountains over here, from the west, it would be pushing us off course. So there's a certain heading that we have to adjust for to crab into it along our flight. That's what we're trying to figure out right now. So this little middle part's called the grommet, and let me erase this with pencil mark because that's from an old thing. I put this grommet at 100 because what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to count up to put it on the wind speed, and it's just easier math-wise to start with 100 versus like if you started at the 90, then you have to add 10 to that for your wind, and it makes more sense to just start with like a 0 baseline. Does that make sense? To count? Okay. So what you're going to do, directions are also on top. So if you forget everything we talked about, directions are right there. That's all you have to read. But we're going to start with the wind. So we said the wind was 190 at 10. So this is called the true index. I'm going to twist 190 under the true index. And then I'm going to count up 10 lines. There's little individual lines between these bold lines right here. And I'm going to count up to 10 because the wind's at 10 knots velocity. And I go up to 110. That's why I start at 100, because it's easier. You can technically start from any number. You can use that expo marker or a pencil. Do not use a pen. Or a Sharpie, God forbid, do not use a Sharpie. Okay, so 190 at 10. There's my wind. I am now going to twist this to our true course, which is 341. And on number 3, it does say rotate true course under the true index. So just following the directions. So we're going to twist 341. About there. And then number 4, it says move slide to put the wind dot over the true airspeed arc. Okay, our wind dot is right here, it's dot X, and our true airspeed was 100. We need to put that X on the 100 line and try to do it without spinning it left or right. So up to the 100, pause there. Now you're going to read what your ground speed is going to be under the grommet. Ground speed is the grommet, G and G. So your ground speed is actually going to be, so there's 100, there's 110. It's going to be like 108. So your ground speed is 108 knots. Your true airspeed is 100 knots. So you have, and that makes sense because we're going north, but we have a wind kind of from the south. So we have wind pushing us towards Chico. This makes sense. We're traveling faster. And then your wind correction angle, this X is now either going to be on the left or on the right. In this case, it's on the left. If it's on the left, you subtract this angle from your true course. So each line to the left or to the right is 1 degree. So right now the X is like on the 3rd degree to the left. So you would subtract 3 from the true course, which is 341. So you would get 338. Read ground speed under center hole, read the wind correction under the wind dot, complete the problem using the formula below. True course, plus or minus the wind correction angle. If it was to the right, we would add it. So if it was 3 degrees to the right, it would be 344. And if you want, you can fill this in. So I'll fill it in just for fun. So we said 341. Minus 3 because it was on the left. That's your true heading. So we got 338. Okay, true heading of 338, we're not done. Now we need to add in or subtract the magnetic variation. So we're converting everything from true to magnetic because the plane is based off of magnetic. The compass is a magnetic compass. It's geared towards magnetic north, not true north. So true course is not going to be the heading you fly. It's going to be your compass heading. So we've got the true heading. Now to find magnetic heading, you take your true heading, which is 338, and you're going to find the nearest isogonic line, which if you guys remember, it's these magenta dash lines. And they're in different places. You just have to find the one that's closest to you. Which looks like that is the one. There is one down here, but that's not as close as this one, so we'll use this one. It's 14 degrees east. So right around here, this is 14 degrees east of like the true north. So from 338, east is least, you subtract. If it was 14 degrees west, you would add it. So 338 minus 14. What is that? 324? Okay. 324 is your magnetic heading. At this point, you're essentially done. So I'm going to put, hold on, I'm going to do -3 for that wind correction angle, -14 for that variation, and then our magnetic heading we said was 324. So remember, there is something called magnetic deviation, which every airplane's is different because the magnetic compass is affected by the instrument panel. Because each of those electronic instruments, they generate their own little magnetic field, which can screw with the magnetic compass. And the only way that you can get compass heading is mechanics, what they'll do every so often. I can't remember if they do it during the annual or not. They will go out and taxi the plane onto like a compass rose. Hopefully the airport has one, any airport does. They go out to the compass needle and they figure out, okay, if we want to put this plane on a north heading, they position the plane to where it's facing north based on that compass rose on the ground, and they see what the compass is reading. If it reads north, then the compass deviation is 0. But most of the time, it's usually like 1 or 2 degrees off. So what'll happen is they'll face it to the north, and it'll say 001. And then they write it on a little card. They say, if you want to fly north, you need to use the heading 001. And they put that on a card, they put it right next to the compass or right above the compass in the plane, and that's your compass card. And they'll have different headings. They'll have, like, if you want to go south, it's actually 181 instead of 180. So you would take that into account if you're going south. If there's like a ±1 deviation, you would say like, okay, -1 for the deviation, our compass heading is now 323. You can tell why I said this was tedious work, because then now you have to do this for every leg. So it's a big pain in the ass. However, it is a rite of passage, so we do have to do it. You should at least, what did I say? I think I usually tell students you should do at least like 1 full one, if not 3 full ones, to really get it down. Because it's a lot of converting, and it's just a lot of work, and it's really easy to forget steps and to miss steps, to accidentally like cross knots and miles per hour, and then that screws with your numbers. But it is good for you to know this. In the case we have another crowd strike issue, except this time it affects fore flight for whatever reason. So you would do that for each leg. The compass card deviations are usually no more than like 2 degrees, so honestly I don't normally worry about it too much, and I will kind of just go with a magnetic heading. But in order to be more precise, you should just take a picture of the compass card in the plane, have it on your phone, put it in a folder, that way you can always refer to it, and know if you need to subtract the 1 or the 2 or whatever it is. But again, it's probably going to be something very small. But that is the first leg that we just did, and then you would do that for like, that would be kind of like from McClellan to Marysville, and then you do Marysville to Chico, but we also would do like, you would throw in the top of climb, top of descent, so that's like another leg that you would add on. That's why when it comes to your nav log, you should at the very least obviously have your departure, your destination airports, your top of climb and top of descent. The longer the route, you're going to need some checkpoints in between, but obviously like from McClellan to Chico, it's pretty much a straight line. You don't have to add in Marysville. You know to follow the freeway. So if you want, you can save yourself, doing a leg of math and just do McClellan, top of climb, top of descent, Chico. It'll save you a little time.
Do you need to do one for the return too?
You should, yeah. You should.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't be, obviously if you just like touch down and then take back off again, it's not going to change a whole lot. The wind's probably going to stay the same, but now with the headwind and your wind correction angle will be to the right, so to the left, so keeping that into account. And your fuel burn will be more because you're flying into a headwind now. So it'll take you a little bit longer. That's how you use the chart.
So I've done this online, but I can't figure out with a picture how you thought that.
Oh, like online. Oh, is that for like the written test and stuff?
It's it's part of my training program thingy. So
I
I
know
basically
it.
ignored it because I was like, what the hell?
I
couldn't
know
figure out how
it.
to
It's
plot
so
on
annoying.
the
So
computer.
what I will say, during your written test, you'll actually get a booklet of the figures, so it'll be on paper, so it'll be way easier. Honestly, what I did is on the computer where it has like the VOR sectional chart, on the top or the bottom, it does give you like a scale.
Yeah.
I zoomed out, or I zoomed all the way out. I got a note card and I marked each tick mark on the scale, and I was like, okay, from here to here is 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, and then I would measure it that way on the route.
That makes way more sense.
It's horrible.
Like, why would you not give us a tip?
It's so
how
dumb.
to figure out.
It's
how
like
we
those
do it on
problems
this.
are the worst because it's so hard to do on a computer. I wish there was like a better way for them to go about that. Like if they could send everybody like a free book or something.
It took me a while, and then I ordered this, and I'm like, this makes way more sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so like unfortunately when you're studying you have to do that weird technique, but when on the actual test it'll be paper.
Yeah.
You can have a plotter with you and an E6B. So you can bring these with you on the written test. Obviously you can't have them marked up or anything, and they will check. Or you could have a digital E6B calculator, which those are great too. So those are allowed, regular calculators are allowed. They will check to make sure like you don't have anything written on them. And then they don't allow calculators. I forget what the term is, but like basically you can't bring a calculator that can store data. Because some calculators, I guess you can do that. Yeah, it has to be a basic calculator. Nothing, no notes on it or anything. They will check.
So how many problems are there on the test regarding
Changes, depends. If you get lucky, you only have to do it like twice. But if you're like me, I had like 12 of these questions.
Oh my god.
Wow.
I wanted to throw up.
That takes the longest.
It takes a long
Yeah.
time too. So hopefully that doesn't happen to you. But it just depends because the questions are randomly generated. So they have a bank of like over 1,000 questions. And then for you specifically, there's like, here's 65 that we randomly selected. And by the way, 5 of those do not count for or against you. They're just new questions that the FAA wants to test on people. So you don't know what questions they are, but just know that it's 65, but only 60 of those count. So they just randomly select those questions. So who knows how many of those types of questions you would get. You might not get any. I doubt that, but you might not, you know, just depends. Those ones and like the VOR questions, horrible. I hate those.
I heard that they're doing less weight and balance.
Oh,
Is that
interesting. I haven't heard that. I don't know. That's
true?
kind of
All the
weird.
practice tests I've been taking don't have like any weight or balance. And I heard that they're like reducing the amount of actual like calculations needed on the exams or whatever because they reduced the time or something. I don't know.
They did reduce the time by like half an hour. I think it used to be 2.5 hours, now you're 2 hours or something. It's still way more than enough time. You'll get done in plenty of time. But that's kind of weird.
Yeah, because I'm really good at that.
And you're like, of course, that's what they take out.
I'm like, I would rather just have all that. That's good.
That's interesting. I'm like, that's kind of important. It's not a weight balance of the planes, but okay.
That's what I thought too.
Hmm.
So,
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're assuming. I couldn't tell you why because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Maybe it was somewhere, but then all the practice tests I was taking online like had like barely any.
Yeah.
The course I'm taking has a time, but like the other practice tests.
Okay.
So I don't know.
That is odd. A little scary. I don't know, maybe they're just assuming that you're gonna use like forklight or something to do it. But still, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. Cool. Okay, so you're talking on the radios a little bit, like in the pattern kind of stuff.
No, for takeoff.
Oh, okay, cool. And McClellan's towered right now, so you're. Have you
flown
flown?
it?
Okay, it is towered until further notice. Somebody did ask though, and the tower guy said probably until like the 11th of August, but it might be extended. But we're gonna have the tower around for a little bit longer.
Because of fire.
Because of the fire season, and then there's also some planned military exercises that are gonna be happening, so they're gonna have the tower to control all of that. They also extended the hours. I think it's from like 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. now, or 11 p.m. or something. Or they're going to. I think it's right now it's 6 to 8, but I think he said at some point they're going to extend it until like 11 p.m. So he's gonna be around for a while. That being said, we will practice traffic pattern calls and tower calls. And I just want to say McClellan Tower right now, it's a really nice tower environment to learn in, but it's not standard. Because normally you have like a clearance delivery guy you talk to, or girl. You have a ground person to talk to, and then tower. We really just have the tower dude there. I do think he has a ground frequency, but he never requires anyone to talk on it. You just stay on one frequency the whole time. So that's not standard. So it's good to learn in because it's pretty laid back, but like it's not real. It's not completely realistic. If you want realistic, like go to SAC Exec. SAC Exec is pretty busy, and they're a little snippy right now, so maybe don't go right now. They've been pretty grumpy. But
really? Well, when I was there, my instructor was like, they're really nice to you.
They usually are, but like the last, I don't know, 2 weeks, they've been real grumpy, and you know what? It's ATP Flight School's fault. But, because they're doing stupid stuff. But they're a good environment to learn at because they have clearance delivery, they have a ground frequency, and they're busy enough to where like you get that kind of fast-paced environment. But yeah, so we're gonna kind of practice radio calls with all of that. We're gonna go outside. And we're gonna draw a runway on the ground. Thankfully, it's like the one day that's not that hot either. Because if it was hot, I was gonna be like, I'm gonna do chalk in here, and we'll just mop it later. Should I walk the